The SKT1 player starts the top right of the map. We have him currently in a 1-0 lead in this group. Great performance against Keen. Closed the game in 5 minutes. This guy is, of course,
SK Telecom T1 Fantasy.
Yep, there he is. Very famous StarCraft 1 player, making a name for himself a little bit in StarCraft 2.
And to the bottom left, of course, a player who doesn't really need an introduction. We're going to give him one nonetheless. This is for LGIM.
LGIM NesTea.
NesTea, quite a formidable opponent. He has all those championships. You can see him on his shirt, those little pins, but as of late, not as much success. And Fantasy, what are you doing out there? That's a 12 barracks. And he sends the second SCV as well. This is going to be probably the last thing that NesTea expects after seeing this exact build against a Terran player.
The thing is, he might actually be able to spot with the Overlord. If he continues this pattern, it depends on where the second barracks is going to be built. Oh my god, he's actually going to scout it. He's going to scout it, Wolf. He's going to see it.
I think so.
The hatch first has been started. He squeezes in the extra drone, and here we go. He sees it. He knows what's happening. Immediately turns right with the Overlord. So Fantasy has no idea that this has been spotted.
Yep. Fantasy is now in the most uncomfortable position that he could be in, but he doesn't even know it, as you said. And this is the opposite of what happened in the Keen game, where everything went right for him.
Fantasy and NesTea played already in the last up and downs, and back then Fantasy took the game. Since then NesTea has lost all his matches against Terran players. It started with Fantasy defeating him in the up and downs, then he lost to Marine King. So I actually won against Marine King, but he lost to Noblesse, he lost to Alive, and a few other Terran players. So maybe now he can turn the tides and can change things up. In the last time that they faced each other, NesTea couldn't do anything against Fantasy, but maybe now he has a chance. He has the scouting information that he needs. Let's see how he reacts here.
Yeah, he needs to react well. Drone pull has already started. That bunker is so far away, and NesTea, as long as he controls well, should be able to deny it, I feel. He's going to start spines.
Well, does he? So far we don't see the spine crawler.
I would like to see one at least, you know?
Yeah. I'm a huge fan of a spine crawler against such an opening. The spine crawler, you can always cancel it if you need be later on, and even if you don't, it's useful against potential Hellions. I really love when Zerg players do it. I hate it when they cut it out, because a lot of the times they get punished for it. But not so NesTea. He has everything in position. He knows how many drones to pull here, and he's able to just take this down without even building a spine crawler.
Exactly, and in fact, NesTea only losing one drone, Fantasy loses nothing. All except the 25 minerals for the bunker salvage. And there's a spine going down because this is going to be useful later, and he knows it. Fantasy is, because he has lost no Marines, still able to do a follow-up pressure, so that's part of the reason why NesTea makes the spine. He cancels it, though.
Yeah, the thing is, he saw the command center, that's why he cancels. He saw it with his Overlord now. It's basically what he decided to do was he went in and he's like, well, okay, I don't know exactly what you're going to do. Either you are going to follow it up now with another barracks, to try to go for maybe even 4 barracks and then put a lot of Marine pressure onto me, or you're going straight into a command center. And if you do, then I don't need the spine crawler. This is why he cancels it.
Yeah, he actually is going to see it just now, and then sees it now. Turns around. But regardless, he had a lot of lings, so even if he didn't see it, with the lings he had, he wants to have the extra drone out for that period of time, because that's a lot of Larvas. But he has 16 lings, that's 8 drones.
The thing is that the NesTea scouting pattern was actually crazy if you think about it.
Yeah.
The Overlord in this position was only because he knew that Fantasy is a player who likes to go for such a build. That's the only reason why he scouted there. Normally a Terran player, a Zerg player will send this Overlord right to the top right immediately.
This is bad luck for NesTea. His lings are on the other side of the map. He's going to lose now his queen and several drones.
This is such a smart attack by Fantasy. This is such a great attempt to get in there, and he is lucky enough to dodge all those Zerglings that are on the way in the middle of the map.
That second queen needs to get out of here. I don't know if she can escape. This is going to be close. If he pulls his drones, he might be able to save it.
Either way,
he buys enough time.
He's losing a lot. This is really Fantasy dedicating a lot of minerals to this attack. A lot of the Marines are here taking down the Zerglings and also a few of the drones. This is a great, great battle for Fantasy.
Yeah, that was a great exchange. This is how to transition out of your barracks play not working. Lose nothing at first, then come in with a follow-up attack. had he run into the Zerglings, he would have still been able to trade okay. But the way he sent his Marines, he knew that NesTea would likely not see him. His Lings would be going across the map for counter pressure.
And now,
excellent.
Just think about what would have happened if there was a Spine Crawler.
Yes.
That would have been very, very different.
He may have killed the Spine Crawler, but that's it. If he doesn't kill the Spine Crawler, he walks away.
Exactly. He might have tried to go in and kill the Spine Crawler, but then suddenly he has to fight at the natural. The Lings have the time to run back. So this is really one of the reasons why against a double barracks opening a Spine Crawler is useful in like 95% of the time.
Yeah, it's always going to have some use. NesTea decided to skip it, and he saves one drone and a few minerals for that, but he loses a lot of drones in return.
Yeah, he lost 7, and the attack by Fantasy was just so smart. He got a little bit lucky if you think about the movement that we saw from NesTea Zerglings. They just moved out. So if the Zerglings would have been behind at the natural, then he could have defended against this without a problem at all. But as it is, Fantasy takes down a lot of Harvesters and gives himself now a much better position in this game. So that was really well done by both of them. First of all, this great scout by NesTea, something that a few Zerg players actually would do. Then a good defense by him, but Fantasy with the means and the attack just to come back into the game and equalize it.
NesTea now getting a Baneling Nest. Ling speed's gonna finish. He's making a lot of Zerglings, in fact, right now. 12 of them. This is just going to be for a little bit more comfortableness against these little potential move-outs that Fantasy's doing right now. That scan is really interesting. He sees the Baneling Nest.
Let's not forget that we don't have a tech to layer.
Yeah. He's really sticking with the Ling Baneling right now. That was actually a really cool scan by Fantasy. It works out for me now as the Baneling Nest just finished. Evolution Chambers here are going to actually have to be canceled potentially.
Yeah.
No cancel on that one.
Evolution Chamber wasn't cancelled, but here come the Banelings, and those Marines are trapped.
Yeah,
trapped and very, very dead.
Well done by NesTea, kind of making it difficult for Fantasy to target down those Banelings. Banelings clean house. Evolution Chamber is restarted, but like you said, the lair tech is a bit late now, and Fantasy has Medivacs on the way.
Yeah, the Medivacs are already on the way, and this gives him a huge tech advantage now. The lair for NesTea has been started, but very late in the game. He's on 3 bases now, which is of course the main thing that he was trying to go for, with 4 queens to protect them, get the creep spread out there. And the creep spread is actually one of those things where NesTea is, he has to work on that a little bit more in this game. At 11 minutes, he didn't really spread a lot of creep, he didn't get the chance to, he lost one of the queens too. So Fantasy is not only able to push NesTea back with his economy by killing those drones, but by taking out the queen, also limiting the creep spread for the Zerg player.
Yeah, NesTea is not in a comfortable position now. He needs to kind of sit back and turtle as best as he can. Fantasy's worker count is 57, now 59 versus 66. There's only a 7 Harvester deficit because he did some damage early on, and he has had this 3rd command start for a while, which is now uncontested because NesTea doesn't have an army big enough to fight it. There's the Spire being started, and Fantasy again just totally dodges the Watchtower. He's going to come in here at a good angle and may actually be able to catch these Banelings.
Yeah, going into the Spire after all, not choosing to go into the Infestors, which we've seen from him in the last few games that he played against Terran on this map. This time he's going back into more of his trademark build. Those Banelings trying to get in there, but really well done by Fantasy, only losing 2 or 3 Marines, taking down the Banelings, and then escaping with the Medivacs. Well done.
Yep, NesTea now trying to spread his creep out as far as possible. He's really trying to hit those tumors because he knows that the drops are going to become even more difficult to deal with without creep, especially with slow Banelings. Baneling speed is not done yet. And Fantasy just keeps the pressure on while at home adding siege tanks. His production has been beefed up like crazy. He's now making 9 Marines at a time.
Fantasy is already ahead of NesTea in overall supply, and that's a very tough spot to be in if you're NesTea. Of course, with those Mutalisks, he then might be able to turn things around, but the 4th base is something that Fantasy will scout immediately, and he might actually be able to force a cancel.
Looks like NesTea just has enough Lings, but he's not going to be able to kill this army, and it's just going to escape. Only 4 of these Marines out of the last, basically a minute and a half they've been harassing, died.
Yeah. And this is one of the things that we've been talking about for a long time, using the Medivacs with Marines to make sure that you can just put the creep back, take down a few units, take down maybe the queens to try to spread the creep, and until the Mutalisks are there, you can't do a lot against the drops. And look at this position suddenly at the natural, even the Baneling can't do anything about it.
1 Baneling is not enough, he needs 2.
Oh, but now the Zerglings are able to get in. This was actually, the Baneling alone was not able to take down the Marines, but he took down one of them and suddenly the Lings could start to surround. The Marines got more surface area and it snowballed from there on.
You know those 4 Marines I talked about that died out of those 2 medevacs, even though the Marines have been around for so long? It's still the case. There's only 4 Marines that have died. Since I said that, even not a single one of those extra Marines from those 2 drops has died. He's actually been able to put so much pressure on. Obviously, the 2 drops of the natural were a different story, but...
They have veterans now.
Yeah. Fantasy's being a very cost-efficient player here, and NesTea is in a situation where he can't mine from his 4th, so the fact that he has it is irrelevant except for production.
No. Change a little bit now that we have the Mutalisks, 13 in total on the map, so now Fantasy has to be very careful how he approaches with those dropships. And he knows it and pulled them back, but he still has a bit of a force at the bottom right. 1 dropship is still ready to wreak havoc if he's able to get into a good position.
Yeah. As he sees the mutas move out, he can go and stim and try to kill the drones from the high ground. The Lings, well, they don't know about this, but Fantasy is massively ahead, and he's even on upgrades. So NesTea has no advantage in this game except the fact that he has that 4th base, which he's now slowly starting to saturate.
The Medivac is now going into the main base at the bottom right, trying to drop there once again.
Yep, and NesTea's units are out of position. Can he defend his main and against this attack? That's what we're going to find out. NesTea pulls his drones away immediately. Fantasy with a maxed out army here, but he does not split initially. The mutas come from the back, picking off siege tanks, but they're getting a little bit too close here.
NesTea getting a good amount of kills, but can he take down the Medivacs and the siege tanks? He can't. Even the siege tanks escape.
The main is still under siege. He does not have enough units to deal with both fronts.
That's the biggest problem for him here. NesTea was trying to defend the main, send a few units in, but there weren't enough, and now suddenly all those Marines are taking out Overlords, took down the spawning pool, no more Zerglings, and if you are relying on Ling Muta Baneling, this is one of the worst things that can happen to you.
Yeah. I mean, suddenly NesTea goes to the main, deals with that, then Fantasy's at his 4th base. There are a lot of Banelings here, but with the siege tank position, I feel he can easily just split, as he's already done 3 splits here.
He can't reinforce, this is the biggest problem. The Marines are now taking down most of those Banelings and Zerglings, and the reinforcements for Fantasy, they are on their way. NesTea can't build anything except Mutalisks. Mutalisks alone are not going to win against the Marines.
Yeah, he does not have any ability to make the Lings with that dead spawning pool. He has 1,000 minerals, he wants to spend it. He has 20 larvae, but he can't make the Lings until the spawning pool's done. As soon as it's done, he's going to make like 40 Lings, 32, and 3 mutas.
Yeah. He's building them right away, trying to get another force in there, but the damage has been done. He lost his 4th base, and this was the only edge that he had in this game.
Yeah, and Fantasy is continuing the momentum. He's got 3-3 on the way. He's going to the main base now, and as he goes to the main, the mutas get drawn back. Fantasy attacks the 3rd base. NesTea has nothing he can do here. His army's not big enough to defend anything that Fantasy is throwing at him.
The Queen is already down at the 3rd base, the 3rd being targeted. In the main base, another drop trying to damage the Mutalisks, and this base will not hold, and so, well, Fantasy is definitely going to take this game now. The pool is once again exposed. He rebuilt it at the 3rd base, and there it goes. The pool is gone. No more units on ST, and he will not take this game.
No, absolutely not. He's got a 3rd base trying to be made. He's long distance mining from it. It's at 9 o'clock expansion, but as soon as Fantasy knows about it, he can kill it. If Fantasy doesn't know about it, he can just kill NesTea anyways, because NesTea is not going to get enough production from long distance mining from his base, which he now sees with the scan.
We're currently looking at a situation where NesTea is 80 supply behind in a Terran versus Zerg, and he can't really do a lot to come back into this game. He can't even build the units that he wants. He doesn't have any higher tech available to him, and +3/+3 is now being started. Fantasy is going into double starport because he assumes at some point there will be a transition into Broodlords, which will never be the case.
Yeah. GG. NesTea getting dominated there. I feel like it all started off badly for him once Fantasy got that run by with his Marines, killed the Queen, and killed some of those drones.
That is definitely true. As soon as that run by happened, it was really tough for NesTea because he lost way too many Harvesters. It was well executed by Fantasy. And kind of a funny game if you think about how we started things off with the double barracks play that was shut down hard by NesTea, but without the Spine Crawler, when he moved away with the Zerglings, the Marine run by took down not only the Queen but also the Harvester. So great start. start here for Fantasy after all, and now we have him with 2-0 in the group, actually leading the group.
Yeah, leading the group indeed. Now we're going to have another Terran versus Terran.
Yeah.
It's going to be Maru versus Keen. We're going to do things a little bit differently today. We have 10 matches maximum possible. We're going to go into the 4th set before our first break, so don't freak out.
Exactly.
You will have time. If you got to pee, just wait a little bit longer.
You have to hold it a little bit longer.
Hold it a little bit longer because we got one more Terran versus Terran. I know somebody's like shuffling their chair uncomfortably at home right now. They were like, I thought there was going to be a break after the game, but I already told you.
Maybe you're lucky. Maybe Keen actually takes... Alright guys, so apparently we have a 5-minute break now.
Yeah, I guess we got an update on that right now.
So, yeah.
I was just trying to, I was like, how can I bridge time? I was like, I know, this seems to fit.
Actually, Wolf was just talking a little bit about the bathroom breaks, and then production realized, well, yeah, right, we can't leave those guys just sitting in their seats like this the entire time, so we have to do something about it. They actually thought of you and were like, well, we need to give them a break and also the time to get themselves a slice of pizza or whatever. So we see you in 5 minutes with the next game. It's going to be a Terran versus Terran. See you in 5.